Let's have the very important but uncomfortable conversation about money. Now, money is going to be important. We have to have it to pay bills, we have to have it to pay rent, and we have to have it to buy food. So money is going to be important. But a lot of schools, you'll see the admissions representative talk about money to get somebody enrolled. The instructors talk about how much money you're going to make to keep a student in school through the whole entire program. And made my ex-wife a lot of money, but that very first job coming into the trade, money is very low. The entry-level part for money is a very low-paid job. A lot of students are very surprised at how low that entry-level position is. Some students even have to take a pay cut to get started in this trade. So that first job is a low pay, and the employer actually loses money on you still in that because there's a lot of risk involved and a lot of stuff you don't know, and typically you're slowing down the person that's training you. Instead of thinking about how low the pay is when you first get started in a trade, let's think of it a different way. Let's think about your first year in the trade as being a paid internship. If you think about it, there's careers that you literally pay money to get experience in. You work for free. Literally, you pay money to work. So you actually pay to be an internship. In HVAC, even though that very first entry-level job pay is typically, not always, it depends on where you are in the country, but typically it's a lot of times very low. Think of it as being that paid internship. So you're still getting money coming in to pay bills and to buy food, but what's more important is you're getting that hands-on experience. You're taking that theory and that knowledge and you're applying it and you're having true experience. If you think of it that way, it helps a lot. And even more important about that is making sure you understand that you're learning. That skill that you're doing is so valuable. So you need to be spending time learning everything you're doing and ins and outs of everything you're doing. You need to make sure that when you're going home, you're looking up information about what you did that day and you're applying it. Now, instead of thinking of it as I'm going to work, I'm getting money and coming home, think of it as, hey, I'm literally going to school where I'm working. And if you think of it like that, it's going to benefit you in the long run. That very first job is a job, but think about this as your career. You're investing in yourself. So what you do in that first year can affect your entire remaining career. So two people get started in a trade. One person, hey, it's a job. I'm just going to do my bare minimum and go home. The other person says, hey, I want to do this job to the best of my ability, build my skills, practice now, make mistakes now. And when I go home, I'm still going to be learning, applying, and learning every single thing I can. At the end of that year, which one do you think will advance more? Now, at the end of the year, maybe they're both making the same amount of money, but the one that's invested in themselves has a whole lot more leverage when it comes to asking for that raise and getting that raise for that next year. Or they have a lot more leverage in getting that next job, which may be a job that gets them one step closer to their goals and what they really want to do in this trade. So that first year, getting your hands-on experience, getting that knowledge, building those true hands-on skills that you can't get in school, that is going to be very, very valuable for that long-term play. Now you're reaching those goals, you're doing the jobs that you want to be doing, and now it's to the path of making more money. Another aspect that's overlooked a lot is overtime, spiffs, and bonuses. When you first start that job, your hourly wage may look a little bit low, but there's a lot of overtime in the peak season. So when everything's in high demand, whether it's in the middle of summer or the very middle of winter, there's typically more opportunities for overtime and extra work. And that has a big impact on your paycheck. Also, there's a lot of times spiffs or bonuses that you could be making on top of that. That doesn't show up in your typical hourly pay. Now, a lot of employers are using what they call piece rate. That means instead of paying somebody an hourly rate, they simply have a amount of pay they're going to apply to each task. So if you replace a contactor, it's going to be this much. Or if you install a condensing unit, or if you install an air handler, there's this much paid based on each one of those calls. So if you take a long time to do that call, you get paid X number of dollars. And if you take a short time to do that call, you get paid the same amount of money. So as you're working faster and more diligently, you're making more money and you have time to do more calls. On the other hand, if it's taking you longer to do those, you're getting less work done and you're overall making less money. So the cool thing about that is it allows you to make more money as you get faster without having to ask for more raises. Hey, you're making the company more money? You are literally making more money. As you're slower and still learning, making mistakes, you're going to be making the company less money and you're going to be making less money. So it's what we call incentive pay. They incentivize you to work more diligently and faster. So there are people that take advantage of that, but that's a topic topic for another video. As you're starting out in this trade, you're going to have to budget money for tools. You're going to have to buy tools because there's tools we have to do this trade. There's tools that make us more efficient, faster, and more precise. So you're going to have to definitely budget for tools and spend money on tools. Tools are going to be an extension of our hands, being able to communicate from our minds to this piece of equipment much more effectively. So definitely have money set aside for tools. And you also need to have, separate from your savings, enough savings to survive for 1 month. It's your emergency plan, at least 1 month. Some people say 6 months, some people say a year, but at least 1 month's emergency pay. You never know what's going to happen, but having 1 month's pay budgeted can make a huge difference in the worst case scenario. Whether it's a economy change, the company gets shut down, you get hurt, whatever happens, it gives you a month's cushion time to allow you to be okay and survive through that bad time. So very important, and start saving on that as soon as possible. Now that can seem overwhelming, but you can start with saving up a half a week's pay, then 1 week's pay. And then as you work on it, that gets larger and larger. And make sure, though, you keep that out of sight, out of touch. You may want to see something you want to go buy and you're tempted to go dip into that money, but that money needs to be set aside for emergencies only to protect you and your family. Now, as people start making more money, they typically start spending more money, and they realize they're making more money than they ever have before. And the problem is they don't have anything else to show for it. And one of the reasons for that is marketing. There's all this marketing, whether it's TV, radio, social media, it says you have to have this or you're not cool. You need to have this product because all your friends have this. And they get you to spend money on what benefits and profits them. You also end up with the stores. Stores love it when people come in without any kind of a list, because now they have all this marketing going on to get you to this, to catch your eye. Oh, you need this. You have to have this. And then you spend money on stuff that ultimately you typically don't need. Make sure that you watch the video about goals and you have your goals outlined. Hey, this is what I want to accomplish. This is what's most important in my life. And you go towards those goals. And then if there's something you want to buy, you can say, hey, is this component going to get me closer to my goals or farther away from my goals, or have no impact on my goals whatsoever? Another tack you can do is wait simply a week before you buy anything like that. Wait a week. Hey, I'm not going to buy that right now. I'm going to come by next week. And if next week you still feel just as strongly that you need that, then sure, you can budget for it and go for it. The problem is, don't be spending money on everything. Oh, I can afford that now. I'm going to go ahead and buy it. Make sure you have the budget and you keep your goals at the top. Those goals could be simply having your own company, being service manager, buying your own house, whatever car it is you want, or having your kids go to college, but focus on those goals. Keep those goals at the very top of your focal point. That makes a big difference. And a car may be your goal, then you go for that goal. One thing that's important to know is a lot of our work is going to be seasonal. So we'll be making more money in the summer or sometimes more money in the winter, but around Christmas time, work slows down. Sometimes you won't have a full 40 hours, and that's okay because I go and do other projects. But for a new person in the trade, this can be quite traumatic. They're like, oh, air conditioning is great in the summer. You just don't make any money in the winter at all. Let's look at the full picture all year round. If all year round you're making more money than you have before, then you're still making more money than you are before. How you manage your money may be different, but that doesn't mean that there's no money in the winter. It just means that there's not as much as there in the summer. The reason I want to bring that up is I see students before they get out into the trade and start making money. They get a bigger house or a bigger apartment, which has a bigger monthly payment. They go get a new car, which has a monthly payment, and also the insurance, which has a monthly payment. And the problem is those doors get very loud in the slow season. In other words, there's somebody knocking on that door wanting their payment. So it can be painful, and the people get very frustrated in that. Now, there's other jobs you can take in HVAC that are much more smooth-rounded. So if you're not good at budgeting money, you can get one of those jobs that have a pretty equal workload throughout the year. But a lot of the jobs that we do, there's a lot more opportunities in the summer than there are in the spring, fall, and winter. So keep that in mind as you're making more money. Don't be spending that money right away, which goes back to a budget. I definitely recommend finding a financial advisor, somebody you can talk to about investments. Well, that's investments in property or it's investments in the stock market or whatever. Make sure you're talking to a qualified person for investments. I have seen over the years many people come in with all of these gimmicks, and some of them are, okay, some of them are somewhat legit, and some of them are just pure on scams. But hey, if you invest in this money with them, they're going to give you all, and they have all the numbers to back it up. But you got to be careful because a lot of these are pyramid schemes, and really it's just simply a goal to get the money from your hands to their hands. So make sure you're talking to a financial advisor, and before you're investing anything, you really think things through. A lot of people, hey, if you just buy this and fix it up, you can sell it for more money. And sometimes that's true. And a lot of times it's simply a way for them to get the money from you to them because they're trying to get ahead in the world also. So get a financial advisor. I'm not the person talking about finances. Get yourself a financial advisor. So when the time comes and you get ready to retire, you're set. I know people in the trade right now that have been great careers, worked really hard. Now they're ready to retire. Their knees are hurting, their backs are hurting, and they can't retire because they don't have enough money to survive on that. So make sure you're doing that now, right now while you can. So when you get to that point, you're set and ready to go. And last but not least, we need to understand, we need to know this. Money does not buy happiness. Oh, money can absolutely rent happiness. It can definitely rent happiness. Money can buy things that bring us temporary happiness for sure. You're down and sad and down and you go buy something. Oh, this is fun. This is exciting. But it's only temporary. It's not long term because money doesn't buy happiness. It can help assist with that. It can overcome some problems. But a lot of times as you make more money, you also end up with more problems. So money alone doesn't buy happiness. So make sure that you're keeping things focused in what's going to be most important to you. Here's one thing I want you to focus on is there's going to be two things in your life. You're going to have highs and you're also going to have lows. No matter what, you're going to have highs and lows. You're going to have great times and you're going to have some sad times. Sometimes when you're in the sad times, you can't see any of the high pitches. You're like, oh, it's just everything's bad. What's important is this is going to happen and eventually this is going to happen, but you need to be focusing on everything good that you have going on right now. Last week, I just got off a phone with a friend of mine. He's got a fantastic life. He's got his kids, his house, his wife, his everything going his way. He got a job that he absolutely loves. And he had 3 things that happened to him that were very traumatic, very negative things that had happened to him. And he got very depressed and was telling me about all these 3 things. First, let the person vent. Let them get it out. Hey, get that negativity out, vent it out. But after he vented it out, it's like, okay, this happened. Can you change it? No. Let's look at what's happening in life that's positive. So let's talk about all the good things in his life. The house, the vehicle, the car, not worrying about, if they're going to go to the store, if they can afford to get all the groceries they need. Like all the great things he had going on in his life. It's like, man, I have a lot of good things going. Now let's be thankful for those things. Now they're still here, but if we focus on the positive, we focus on what's going good in our life, it makes these negative things not nearly as bad. So keep in that positive mindset. Money can't buy that mindset. You and your mindset, keeping focused on that, that's what's important. Happiness is essentially a mindset. Let me give you a better example. I've got to travel the world, and I'm so thankful for that. One of the places that I got to travel was Cambodia. And in Cambodia, I've met the poorest people that I've ever met in my life. I've met a lot of poor people as I've traveled. Cambodia and the People's Republic of Laos were 2 of the places I saw that people were absolute the poorest. I'm talking so poor that they don't even understand the concept of air conditioning and refrigeration. So I got to live in a local village while I volunteered for an orphanage. And we're talking, when I went into town, there was no refrigeration, no ice. It was simply legs of beef hanging with flies on them. You had all kinds of unidentifiable types of food and there's bugs all over them and just simply bugs that they eat in general. Whatever they can eat to survive, whatever they can get for protein, that's what they ate. I'm trying to teach the kids. They're asking me what I do for a living, and I'm trying to tell them about air conditioning, refrigeration. They have no concept. And eventually it came down to I changed the weather, and they wanted me to change the weather, and I couldn't do it. I didn't have my tools with me, but they just couldn't even understand the concept of air conditioning. So if you're sitting in an air conditioning location right now, think about how blessed you are to not only understand and appreciate refrigeration and air conditioning, that you have that. You're able to change the environment around you right now. Now, what's so amazing about that is these people have nothing. We're talking about kids that go and get their water and bathe with the same water the cows poop and drink their water from. A lot of the kids there had skin diseases. People had skin diseases from the pollutants in the water. They had all kinds of things going on from the pollutants of the water. Some people had wells they were able to pull water from, but you had mosquitoes, you had all kinds of things. And if you don't have money to buy medicine, then you die or you succumb to your illnesses. There is no other way to help you. If you don't have any way of getting food, you simply die. Some of these people have no concept of currency. It's all barter system so that they can get what they need. The poorest people, we're talking grass huts that they lived in. On these people had the biggest smile on their faces all the time. And not just because it's a cultural smiling thing. They were legitimately happy people. They would show me, hey, meet my kids. Here's what we have. Oh, here's a painting that I did on this piece of leaf that I have. And they were offering to give me their stuff. They have nothing. The only picture they have is something that they made themselves and hang it on the wall. And they're wanting to give it to me. This one place I went to had a fruit hanging and they were waiting. I don't know what kind of fruit it was. They were waiting for it to ripen up. They took me there. They cut it and gave it to me. I took a piece of it, gave it to them. They thought it was the best thing in the world that I was able to give back to them. They have nothing. And they were so happy that I gave them something that they already had. They were so happy that I was there to visit them. Happiness is a mindset. I mean, if you could meet these people and how happy they were. I lived with them for over a month. Amazing people. They taught me more about life than anything else because I realized happiness is a choice and not a circumstance. We can choose to be happy or choose to be sad. Yeah, bad things are going to happen, but we can choose to focus on happiness. And one thing is, money can definitely rent happiness from time to time. Money can make a better life for us. But in America, we are all blessed. Even the poorest American that is on the streets poor can find some place to go, a food bank, a shelter, some place to get them a bite to eat. And I think that is absolutely amazing. And we take way too much stuff for granted in America. So if you have your goals, go for the goals. Don't stop going for your goals because somebody else is suffering. Still go for your goals. But have the appreciation that you are blessed. You have a lot of things going for you. The poorest person that's watching this has something going for them. Don't forget that. Still go for your goals. But when these bad things happen, there's people that have a whole lot less than we do. We look at the people that are wealthy. If you're watching this video, you're wealthy. You have a device able to watch information. You are wealthy. Have those goals. Go for those goals. Definitely strive for those goals. But remember that money doesn't buy happiness. And the more money you have doesn't mean you're going to be any happier. Look at all the rich people. A lot of times they end up committing suicide. Actors commit suicide. They have the fame. They have the money. It still doesn't bring happiness. One thing about this trade for me, it has definitely brought me happiness. It's taken me around the world. No matter what's happened with the economy, I still had a job. I could still provide for myself. I could still provide for my family. No matter what happened, I still had something that I was proud of. I had a skill set that nobody could take away from me. No matter what happens, I can do it. When I lived in Australia, I couldn't legally do air conditioning because of their laws, but I had jobs everywhere because of the skills I had from air conditioning refrigeration. The other thing I love about travel is it keeps your open mindset. I get friends with a box mentality, whether it's political or sports, where they get these box mentalities that they think because they see things a certain way and their friends see things a certain way, that's the way the whole world is. And I have friends over here with the other opposite box mindset. And as I travel, everybody has their box mindset because they're a product of their environment. They think of how they live and where they're living, what's happening, interacting with them. They think that's the way the whole world is. As you get to meet more people, you get to realize, even if you don't agree with it, you don't have to agree with it, but appreciating somebody else's perspective makes you more valuable. Here's what's important. You're going to be going in all different types of customers' houses from all different types of backgrounds and all different types of walks of life. And as you get to meet these people, you don't have to agree with everything they do, but having an appreciation for where they come from allows you to connect with them, allows you to put a smile on your face knowing that you did the best job possible. A lot of people do jobs they hate, but imagine going to work doing, I did the best that I could today. I learned something. I got to help people and make a living doing it. That is powerful. Now when I work with people and all over the country, I work with all these different people, I can connect with them. I don't have to agree with every single thing they say, but the fact that I can listen and appreciate where they're coming from makes me more valuable. And that's the same thing it can do with you. As you're learning, keeping the open mindset and you're going to different houses and working with different people, that can be very valuable. Having the open mindset, keeping you growing, keeping that growth side of life, more valuable than anything money can ever buy. So if you talk about how much work is spent, we spend a lot of our life sleeping, a lot of our life at work, and a little bit of our time with family and being awake, doing stuff we want. So what you're doing for a living at work is going to be important. So whatever you're doing, be the best at it, find happiness in it. Sometimes it's tough, But if you find happiness in what you're doing, you're going to find happiness in life. And for me, I love this trade because it's definitely brought me happiness. It's taken care of me in the worst times of life and also the best times of life. And I hope that if HVAC is not your trade, that at least you build these skills and you can find what you enjoy in life, that what makes you happy. And HVAC has so many different connections and possibilities. It's just endless in your opportunities and your growth. Get started somewhere. Start saving that money. Realize that first year is going to be a paid internship. Don't get into all the marketing. Don't be spending as you're making more money. Save more money and keep your goals on the top end and also be focusing on the positive parts of life. Address the negative, but focus on the positive part of life and be thankful for all the fantastic, great things you have going for you, because you have a lot of great things going for you. And make sure you get yourself a pair of sunglasses because your future is going to be so bright, you're going to need to wear sunglasses at night. Never stop learning. Stay positive. Love you. Hope to see you at the top.